What's up, everybody? Another episode of the Energy is Love podcast. Thank you for tuning in and listening. Thank you for subscribing, sharing, rating, reviewing, leaving comments, reaching out, all the different things that you guys have been doing over the past year and a half. Maybe we're coming up on a year and a half for the podcast. We are quickly approaching episode 100, which kind of blows my mind. I'm super excited. Haven't quite figured out what we're going to do for the big 100th episode, but we got a little bit of time. Remember, as always, you can find everything about the podcast as far as where to follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. Download episodes, all of our sponsors. Everything is at energyislovepodcast.com. Go there and check it out. Real quick before we get going, we got a shout out for the Infinite Possibilities Higher Consciousness Fall Fair. It's coming up October 20th. It's going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all day. It'll be held at the Golden Spike Event Center, which is up in Ogden. So if you are one of our many listeners in Utah, especially up in northern Utah, it's going to be a great opportunity for you to come out and check out everything that they're going to have there. It's incredible. It's fun. The list of readers, healers, psychics, performers, artists, musicians, it just goes on and on and on and on. $5 is all that it costs, and that will get you in every day that weekend. So remember, Friday, October 20th is going to be the first day, and it runs all the way through Sunday. Go search them out on Facebook, follow the event, see everybody that they're going to have there, and then make a point, mark your calendars, and go check them out. This episode is brought to you by our fantastic, amazing sponsor, Entheozen, nutritional solutions for balancing the mind and body. All the products that you can find at Entheozen are designed to promote optimal brain health and overall happiness. The ingredients used in those products contain premium active forms of vitamins and minerals, which are there to ensure bioavailability and maximum absorption. So Transzen, Revive, Weekend Warrior, these are the type of products that you can find at Entheozen. Transzen, for example, is a mood enhancement and a meditation aid. So if you have a meditation practice already, maybe you don't, this is a wonderful opportunity to start one. Highly recommend the practice of meditation each day. But pop some Transzen, and it's going to help you get into those spaces a little bit easier and quiet your mind and maximize that time that you spend meditating. Like I said, all the products can be found at entheozen.com, or you can go to Amazon and purchase directly on Amazon. Either way, whether you're at the website or at Amazon, make sure you enter the promo code ENERGYIS at checkout and save yourself some cash. But go do it now. Go to their website. Go to their Facebook page, go to our website, click on their link under sponsors, and go show them some love and check them out. So on the new episode of the podcast you are about to listen to, I just got back from Hawaii, and that's where this episode was recorded. It was a wonderful little quick trip. I'd never been to Hawaii before, and it was a wonderful experience. And my guest on the show, her name is Daisy Delangen. She is the owner of Kona Acupuncture. She also is now the proud owner, along with her husband Mike, of a brand new Dream Pod, which is the purpose of my trip to Hawaii. So we had quite a bit to talk about. Daisy's a really interesting, neat person. It was wonderful to get to meet her. She does do acupuncture. She also has a wide variety of other modalities that she uses. At the end of the day, she's pretty much just a healer. And I shouldn't say pretty much. It's pretty fantastic and amazing. So we sat down and recorded this episode. I got to learn more about her. I got to learn more about acupuncture, which was really interesting. I also got to experience acupuncture for the first time. Daisy was kind enough to give me some acupuncture, and it was, I don't even know if I can describe the setting, but it was this beautiful little park that was literally right on the ocean. So 20 feet away from where I was laying back and relaxing was the beautiful beach and the waves and the ocean and the sunset. It was amazing. And the acupuncture was pretty cool as well. But we got into a lot of different stuff during the episode. It's a really fun episode. It's an insightful episode. You're going to learn a lot about Daisy and what she does and how she works with energy. So if you're one of our many listeners in Hawaii and you are ever on the Big Island of Kona, go check her out. It's konaacupuncture.com. You can also float on that island now. I suggest going to hawaiifloat.com and go hop in that Dream Pod. Maybe you're going there for a vacation soon. And this would be a wonderful opportunity for you to experience some amazing healing energy. But I personally want to thank Daisy and Mike for their hospitality, for their kindness, and also for Daisy taking the time to sit down on the podcast. It was a wonderful opportunity. And now you get to sit back, relax, and turn it up. Push play. Nobody pushes play anymore. I guess there's a play button on your phone. That's probably how you're listening. But sit back and relax and enjoy this wonderful episode of the podcast for the universe with my wonderful guest, Daisy Delangen. Here we go.
You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Energy is love.
The Energy is the Love podcast.
The Energy is Love podcast.
Energy is love.
The Energy is Love podcast.
The podcast for the universe.
The Energy is Love podcast.
And that's it, Daisy.
Okay.
Now we're up, ready to go. Are you excited?
Yes, and nervous.
Don't be nervous. Like, it's super easy. We just get to sit and bullshit and talk for a little while.
All right.
And we get to learn all about you. That's the cool part.
Lovely.
So first off, Daisy, and then like I said, I'm going to have you pronounce your last name so I don't butcher it.
Daisy Delangen. Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys have been in Hawaii for how long?
Almost 10 years. So.
Did you ever picture yourself as somebody that was going to... We got the cat in the background. Did you ever picture yourself as somebody that was going to end up in Hawaii or live in Hawaii?
No, not at first. We thought it was going to be a short little, let's go to Hawaii and hang out and do a couple years there. And here we are.
Yeah. Do you like it?
Love it.
Like, it's kind of a thing, right? Like, people, I think, I don't want to say like people that live in Hawaii are different, but like, I think there's, because I obviously don't live here. This is my first time here, but I think there's like a mindset or even just like a stereotype of people that either originate from here or that end up settling here.
Yeah, I would say so. But you find yourself here, and in the beginning, you're like, okay, am I going to stay or am I going to go? You know, is the island going to accept me or am I going to end up leaving? So it's very interesting.
Was it a hard transition?
Oh, extremely hard. Yeah, it's not easy whatsoever.
Where did you grow up?
In California.
So it's kind of similar. I mean, you living on the coast and things like that, but...
Well, I didn't live on the coast in California. It was Central Valley.
Okay.
Little hot pit.
So quite a bit different then.
Yeah, dry versus humid.
What was one of the biggest differences or kind of challenges to kind of acclimate when you guys first moved here?
I'd say you're acclimating at all different types of levels, whether it's weather, people, jobs. I mean, you're pretty much stripped of everything when you move over.
What was the hardest part?
The hardest part is just getting situated.
And the cat just died?
Probably. Little shit.
Just getting situated?
Yeah, the hardest part, I mean, we took 6 months, I think it was, before we came over. Kind of set the intention and we're like, are we going to go or are we going to do it? And when it was finally like, yes, we're going to do it, we had dogs and a cat. So you have to go through the process of getting them ready to come over. And so that was probably one of the hardest parts, was waiting, you know, knowing you wanted to be here, but you couldn't quite be here yet.
What is that process?
That process is the quarantine because there's no rabies here. So the animals have to go through this process of where they get their rabies shot, they're checked, and then you can bring them over.
Like from wherever you're coming from, you have to do that part before you come here? Or
wherever in the world before you come to Hawaii, yes.
Mm-hmm. So the animals have to go into quarantine before they come to Hawaii?
Yeah. So in quarantine used to be pretty rigorous. You know, the animals would be in a kennel, but then they changed it, and now you actually get to stay with them, but they microchip them, they check them, and then, you know.
I did not know that. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. But if you want to bring your animals, you know, they go through the process as well. So, but it helps you eliminate what you don't need before you come over.
Yeah. And then after being here for a decade, how would you, like, what are some things that stand out in your mind as stuff that's kind of changed for you personally, for your family, like things that you didn't really think about ahead of time that in fact have been kind of like a pro?
The whole process of living, basically the living slower, living within your means, going with the flow, that's a big one. You know, you can really step back and be like, wow, you let things flow however they flow, but they switch fast. So you have to be prepared, but yet not prepared.
Be prepared for change, but yeah, relax and
expect it, but don't expect it.
Yeah.
And when it happens, you're like, oh, okay, that's the way it is.
And is that just kind of the culture on the island for the most part, you think?
Pretty much. I believe so.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. I'm super excited to get to chat with you. it's kind of a neat thing that I get to be here and all the fun stuff that we get to do. And you guys have been so gracious and everything like that. And but I want to learn about you because we chatted just a little bit when I first got here.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we could go into why I'm here and everything like that. And if people listen to the podcast, they know that I installed dream pods and that I get the opportunity to travel every now and then. And this time I got to come to Hawaii. So it's pretty cool.
Right.
But you do a lot of really, really, really neat shit. And so I was excited to get to meet you and then to have you come on the podcast because it's exactly the type of stuff that we talk about sometimes. So first off, tell me, because I've been wondering this in the last few days, tell me about, you don't have to go like super in depth, but tell me about your childhood and your upbringing. Because the reason I'm wondering about it is you guys have those awesome kids who I think are really, really neat and really, really cool. And they're also like from a straight up hippie spiritual side, your kids are very, very, very bright. They have that beautiful energy around them. They emanate it. They have that wonderful glow of kids that are super connected and they haven't lost it yet. Because I think that everybody's, I think everybody's born that way, still connected to source or the universe or whatever we call it.
Right.
And then life gets in the way and jacks us up over our adolescence and our childhood. But your kids still shine and are still bright.
That's part of the process, trying to reserve that and keep that, you know, not break it.
And so do you feel like you were that way when you were little as a child growing up?
I believe maybe in the early stages, the early years, you know, but at some point it shifted and changed. You have to adapt. And so there was a point where walls started going up, you know, because things weren't right or things that I said or saw, you know, nobody else did. So you have to shift and change according to the people around you to survive.
Do you remember a time in your life where that was like obvious to you? Like you had to kind of shed?
Yes, I would say between 1st and 5th grade.
And what happened?
Well, there's multiple instances, but it's more feelings or emotions or not necessarily significant things that happen, but just processes or things that I was going through, you know, knowing things, but not knowing why, you know, and talking about it and people just saying, oh, why are you even asking that? Or why are you saying that? Or you shouldn't be, you know, as a child. So,
and that kind of stuff you feel like you've had all the time, that ability to kind of just know stuff and tap in and connect. Right.
So there's been a whole, the unlearning for myself and then re-educating and realizing that, oh, that's, you know, kind of stepping back into the childhood and being like, oh, that's what I felt way back then, you know, and bringing that to the forefront again.
Yeah, I think that's so common. Like, I think it's, and I think that, because it's something that I've thought about, not recently, but like over the years, this whole process of, like you said, relearning things and re-educating yourself. And I call it like a re-remembrance. Like I'm re-remembering shit that I used to know and ways that I used to behave and things that I used to do. And a lot of time it was as a child. And I think it's so natural. I think that is part of the design and part of the process and part of the, you know, the path and the journey and the reason why we go through that experience. It serves some sort of purpose. But it kind of sucks because it would just be really nice if we could hold on to that our entire lives. Yeah,
holding on to it with the knowledge of what is to come next, you know. But then you need these experiences to be who you are today, to help people today or to connect with them, you know. And so without those experiences, how are you going to connect or know?
Wouldn't it just be easier if we could just hold on to it? Like, because I think about myself and I think if I could just not be the same way I was as a kid, but have the same mindset and the same outlook and the same kind of connection, I feel like I could still have moved through life just fine if I still had that, and it would have been easier and better.
Right. Well, it's the awareness. So like with my children, you know, keeping that awareness in them, but at the same time educating them, okay, maybe this is the way the world is working or how I see it. So I always go back to like, I wish someone would have told me this. And then when a situation arises with my kids, I'm like, okay, how would I have wanted the adult to, you know, educate me in the moment? You know, what would I have wanted to know, or what would the response have been that would have helped me, you know, instead of where, you know, something was said and you put up a wall. How do you keep that wall down? Is
that like a constant thought that you keep when it comes to kind of raising and working with the kids and stuff like that?
Yeah, I try to.
And then the challenging
I mean, you get
part.
stuck in the parent role.
Yeah.
Temper tantrums. And I think that's all the same amongst parents.
Yeah. And then the challenging part is doing that for yourself still, right?
Right.
And like
there's a constant reconnecting, where things come up through me or through patients or through friends or different people where I'm like, oh, okay, this is that feeling, and then it's grabbing onto that and holding that and realizing, okay, well, what was the situation or what happened or what was the feeling, and why did it shift or change and how do I change it back and how do I keep it?
Yeah. Do you feel like you've had some part of, like, let's look at it from a very kind of analytical standpoint. If we think about, because for me, it's all just the universe. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in all this other kind of thing. It's
whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
Universe, God, source.
Yeah. And I just call it the universe.
Yeah.
And so I think about everybody that is in existence and everything that is in existence stems from that same source and is made up of that same source. And we all are connected to that universe and all that kind of shit. And I feel like when we're born, we have 100% connection because we come straight from it. And then life proceeds and proceeds and proceeds. And maybe we go down to 70% or 50% or 40% or 20%. Right. So at what point in your life do you feel like you were most disconnected from it? And then what transitioned and changed to kind of reconnect you to that source?
I feel that I was always connected. There was an awareness of always being connected and it's always there. I just didn't speak about it or present it. It was still within my conscious. So it wasn't ever completely blocked out. But it was the matter of like opening it up and letting it out, to other people or talking about it. If that makes sense.
It does make sense.
So it wasn't ever blocked. So it was just how I presented myself or what I spoke about depending on who I was around. I was really good at learning, what I could say or not say around people and different people based on their own beliefs or, depending on where they came from or how they were raised. I did a lot of observation as a child, just observing people and observing, how they walked into a room or their tone of voice or what they talked about or where their conversations went. So I learned very quickly, how to present myself.
How to read people and then, like you said, present yourself depending upon the situation.
Right. But, as a child, you're called shy or aloof or these other things, but, they label it when more or less it's like, no, there's a whole lot more going underneath the surface.
Yeah. And then at what point did you kind of start to shift and change the way that you kind of talk about it or share it with other people or those kind of things?
Probably there was a major turning point when I got to leave the States and travel. So there was this really pivotal point where I got to go to Japan as an exchange student. And so that was really transitional as far as opening my eyes to the world and really what I wanted to do or, different things.
How old were you?
17.
That would be quite the experience at 17.
So it was really cool. And it happened really fast. So things in my life that it's kind of like there's this thought, it manifests, it happens, I'm there doing it. I mean, I've gotten really used to it.
Yeah.
Mike's gotten used to it.
It's hard though sometimes, I imagine.
It's hard, yeah. When people don't understand or don't realize, I'd say that's hard. It's hard for them. It's not hard for me.
You just become accustomed to manifesting super fast.
Right. So it was a matter of like, being at my grandfather's work. He had a gas station and I worked there. It was fun. But there was a map on the wall and I'd be like, oh, that was be so good to travel. And he's like, hey, there's a trip going to Japan soon. He's part of the Kiwanis Club and Lions Club. And he's like, they send kids all over. You want to do it? Sure. Next thing I knew, a week later, I'm like on the list. I'm going.
That's way cool. How long were you there for?
Summer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You stay with host families, so you really get immersed in the culture.
Do you think that was what part of that experience kind of shaped and changed who you were?
That it just rearranged everything. Before we left, they're like, oh, you're going to go through culture shock and, just, be careful of this. And if you need to call home and all this. And I got there, I didn't want to talk to anybody at home. There was no culture shock. I felt like I was home. And I was just like, wow, this is the craziest phenomenon ever. Here I am on the other side of the world and I'm completely okay and I don't want to go home.
So you integrated pretty well.
I came home and had culture shock.
Yeah.
I couldn't talk to anybody because I heard Japanese for a whole summer. And I didn't know any. I knew like a little bit, but it was mostly, just body language. I can tell what was going on based on like the tone or what they were doing, So a lot of reading of that. But I came home and I was just like, oh, English? Can't do it.
Yeah. It's probably a different vibration, I imagine.
Oh, completely different, And that's what I loved about it.
Yeah.
The tight knit within the traditions and the culture and the food and just anything and everything.
Was it, because now we get to talk about all the work that you do now, and a lot of the work that you do focuses in kind of the Eastern medicines and things like that. Do you think that played a role?
How could it not?
Yeah.
Everything's connected, right? Everything plays a role.
Yeah.
Whether you realize it at the moment, but these are moments you go back to and you're like, wow, that really set the stage for where I am now,
Mm-hmm. So tell me where you are now. So how did your trip as a 17-year-old girl going to Japan for a summer play a role in where you are today and the work that you do?
It's a very good question. So where am I now? Well, we know where I am, Hawaii, beautiful, but work-wise, it's just, I realize that, the deeper you go, the more you change or don't change, things are constantly shifting and they're never what you instantly seem or believe in the moment. So you constantly have to shift with whatever's going on, shift your beliefs, shift your perspectives. So, and where I am now, I'm completely open to like shifting and change and synchronicities and, manifesting things more and more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about, because we talked a little bit about, I want to know everything that you feel like telling me about acupuncture, because we'll start there. And then I know that that's a very small part of what you really do.
Small part, big topic.
Yeah. So we've never had anybody on the podcast before that has practiced that. So give me an idea, first off, what the hell it is. Because people know what it is.
People?
Yeah, people
yes,
have
pretty much.
Obviously, preconceived notion of what it is, but tell me what it really is.
So acupuncture is basically a form or in essence a modality within the Chinese medicine or Asian medicine or Oriental medicine culture, right? So it's one way to help people heal, in essence, it's one way to tap into that. You're putting needles in people, you're picking points, there's meridians, there's channels. So you go along that, you do your diagnosis, looking at the tongue and the pulse. And from there...
what are you looking at the tongue for?
Tells you the here and the now and the past.
Okay.
Health-wise.
What are you looking at the tongue?
You're looking at, what the tongue looks like, what color is it? What's the coat on it? The thickness, the thinness of it, are there teeth marks? Are there no teeth marks? There's so many different multiple aspects of it. So,
and then that's all obviously related to physically,
right?
All kind of different.
So there's
things.
different parts that will tell you, what is long standing within the body as far as health, and other parts which will tell you, okay, this is the here and now. Like a cold or flu. The coat will change.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So if you look at your tongue every day, you can see how it changes based on how you're feeling, what you're eating, what you're not eating. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. So you get to start out by looking at people's tongues.
Right. Which I found is a very intimate thing to do. So many people, if they're not familiar with it, they're like, you're looking at my tongue? And they, their first thing is, oh, I just had coffee. I just had a smoothie. I just ate something, green, blue, whatever, Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And
then you talked about it's tapping into meridians and channels and things like that.
Yeah. The things you can't measure in life, right?
Yeah. And so is it all based off of because I'm familiar with energy channels through our body and things like that, and the meridian lines and things like that, and how it all sits and resonates.
So you're tapping into these channels, which in essence are, yes, they're energy meridians, but, they're also your blood and your nerves, everything flows, So
like, does it also kind of work with like the lymphatic system and things like that as well?
Oh, every system in the body, as far as what I can tell, we're working with everything. So based on where the point that you choose, and different points have different energy and they do different things, whether it's on the physical spectrum or the energetic spectrum.
And then like when it comes to the actual physicalness of a needle going into their body, like...
So what happens is you place one needle and you're inserting it into the body and you're actually creating a healing response. So your body sees that needle as a wound because, you're injuring it. And so your body will shift and change because now it's in a mode to repair. I've just been injured, kind of like a bee sting. So it has to go into that mode of, okay, I need to release this for, tissue repair. I need to release this. The blood shifts and changes. Your hormones shift and change. Everything changes.
And how deep do you have to go with the needle?
Well, it depends on a few different things. The part of the body. Some points are very shallow. Like the ear, I'd say, is one of the most shallowest. You're dealing with skin and cartilage. It's on the surface. The hip is a little bit deeper. But then there's also the chi factor, your energy, the chi, and so...
The chi.
The chi. Yeah, so when you insert a needle, there could be blockages. It could be an energetic blockage. It could be a physical blockage, where the needle may not go in or it only goes in partially until the body accepts it or the being accepts it or the person accepts it.
So I've never had it done before. Honestly, it doesn't seem like I understand what you're saying and I resonate completely with the idea and the concept, but it doesn't seem that appealing at all. For me, it's like, I think there's probably other ways I could clear blockages and work with, meridians and everything like that. So what is it about acupuncture? I know it's just a different modality and there's lots of different ideas and concepts out there. But what is it about it that really, not necessarily is better than others, but kind of gets right to the point? I know, right?
I know.
Needle point?
Well, the idea is you can get right to the point. Not all the points are on the surface. You go to someone who does Reiki because they do energy work. Well, they're working within the energetic spectrums, but they can't go deep within the tissues, So we have things that everything starts at an emotional level, the energetic level, and it starts to work its way in. When you start getting physical symptoms based on things you haven't faced or you haven't dealt with, or maybe you just don't even know why, they start presenting themselves in the body as pain or inflammation or injury or illness. And so this is one way that you can get beyond those barriers.
What are some of the things that you've seen, like people have been able to work through, some of the things that people have benefited from when it comes to when you've worked on them?
I've seen some of everything on the physical levels, from pain, maybe injuries that are old standing. A lot of people come to me, they told me I'll have this forever. And I'm like, well, I don't believe in forever. So it's working with that and helping them realize that you don't have to have something forever, based on what their doctor said or somebody else told them. These are all thought processes that they hang on to. So part of it's breaking down that and giving them something else to think about and realizing that it doesn't have to stay that way. But other people who have made like drastic changes, cancer patients who have come to me and, after their cancer therapies, you're helping them, reestablish their body and their being and being here, and who they are. People who transition through different other injuries, they don't believe that they can heal, and all of a sudden they're feeling better. People who've crawled through my door literally because of their back pain or their hip pain because they can't walk, and then getting on the table and having a treatment afterwards, they're just like a whole new person because the pain is gone, and then I'll see them the next time.
And then it comes back.
Well, things come back as, depending on your life and what's going on, but things always show up, where they need to at that moment. So.
Is it the type of thing too that you can practice on yourself?
Mm-hmm. It's not the same as going and getting a treatment, though.
Yeah.
Being able to just lay on a table and let go and just let the acupuncturist do what they feel they need, I don't need to like tell them where to put anything. You know, you want somebody else to do it because you need to be taken out of that part of your mind and your brain and to shut that off and turn that off.
Did you have any kind of hesitation when you first started? Because for me, I think I'd have a hard time. Well, maybe I wouldn't, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, but I think some people would probably have a hard time sticking needles in people and being nervous about hurting them or doing it the wrong way, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we all go through in the beginning kind of, you know, definitely doing that, you know, because you're constantly checking with the person. How does that feel? Is that okay? You know, but you realize that they're going to feel so many different things. And when you get treatment yourself, you really tune into like, okay, how does that feel? What does that feel like for me? What am I feeling? What are the sensations? You know, because all the points chosen and all the needles in those points may feel different all at the same time. And then you may feel nothingness as well.
Is it, how big are the needles?
Well, there's small ones and then there's bigger ones. Yeah.
And then are you going...
yeah.
You're laughing, like smiling, like thinking it's probably...
Because it's fun.
It's painful though at times, isn't it? I imagine.
There is, it can be, you know, but there's different points of pain. And sometimes you're bringing people to that fine line of this pain feels so good, it's being released and I feel things moving, and you know, you can really feel the transition from the pain that they came in with to this new type of pain, which is like a dull achiness usually. And then if you go too far, you can take them into the, okay, that doesn't quite feel right type of pain. And so you're constantly staying within that.
Trying to find that happy spot, huh?
Definitely trying to find the happy spot or stay just before that happy spot. You know, everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some people that they want to be taken right up to that point because for them, that is the transitional point. And other people don't want to feel anything. You know, if you barely just like touch their body, that's enough for them.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have patients who come in and they don't even get acupuncture. We're doing everything else within the Chinese medicine spectrum.
What's that like? Like when you say everything else?
Oh, it's moxibustion, gua sha, cupping, some light tuinar type Chinese massage, acupressure, herbal medicine. Yeah.
Just a whole smorgasbord of stuff.
Yeah. I have all these different tools, whether it's stones or bone or wood or different things, you know, as far as whether you're doing acupressure or gua sha or different things on the body. So.
And is this something that, like, how long have you been kind of doing this type of stuff?
This type of stuff as far as healing or?
Yeah. Like just in the space of working with people in these different kind of modalities and helping people heal and balance and all that kind of stuff.
So, well, within the Eastern medicine spectrum since about 2009. Before that, I was doing athletic training. That was like my undergraduate. So kinesiology. And then in between those two, I did a bunch of photography. That's my other passion.
Photography.
Mm-hmm. That was my other, you know, you got to work both sides, you know.
Uh-huh.
It's always been a balance for me. How do I balance things in life, you know?
Well, photography and healing and working with people, it's kind of tapping into that same creative space, right? Because you have to go there.
It's all creative. Yeah. And paying attention to the fine, minute details. Right?
Yeah.
Whether you're helping someone that's on your table and paying attention to the little subtleties within the skin tone and the texture, or you're editing a photograph, you know, same thing, you know, the more and more you zoom in, the more and more you see that's different, you know, and changing things. Mm-hmm.
So I asked you the other day when we first met, and we kind of chatted a little bit, kind of what was your favorite part of working with people, like your favorite space to get into and things like that. And now we get to talk about it again on the podcast so that everybody else gets to hear and we get to learn a little bit more. Okay,
the favorite space.
Yes.
The unknown space, right?
So tell me what that is to you, like when you think about it.
The areas that you can't see or touch or feel, you know, it's more like using your sense. You know, whether it's your sixth sense or your intuition or, you know, just what comes in those moments. So tapping into that, those resources, you know, and you never know what it's going to be. Every minute can change.
How do you personally know that kind of like when you're in that space?
When I'm in the zone, I guess you can call it the zone. Anybody that comes in, I just get into the zone. So basically for me, it's very thrilling in a sense. But when I'm working with people, I have this limitless energy. I can just kind of work through everything. And then at the end, I'll crash knowing... But I'm just like in the zone. And so you can come and sit down in my chair or on my table and the information just comes through. So
what does it feel like though? I keep putting...
It's high. It gets me high.
It gets you high.
It's a very clear high. So very, you're tapped in, you're tuned in, and whether the information is in words or images or sensations or an urge to ask a question or touch a particular point or something like that, Yeah.
If you had to put a label on yourself in regards to what you are or what you do, what do you pick or how do you describe it?
Well, I don't like labels.
I know, but we have to. That's a hard thing because we don't like labels, but yet at the same time, like we have to come up with a way to verbalize it. Because if we just all sat back and said, "Yeah, come see me," because I know that you, like you have a website, you have a business, you have all this stuff that you do. But at the end of the day, too, like how do you characterize because you're not just one thing, but yet you still have to come up with a way to.
Well, a very simple term is just healer. Right.
Yeah, but somebody that's not like somebody that's not open to that, or somebody that doesn't really understand what the hell you're talking about and thinks that you're up in the night, how would you explain it further? Because I get what you say when you're a healer, and you totally are. But
I really don't know. So
have you encountered it too much? I mean, that was another question I had for you, like here on the island and things like that, like how receptive are to people to the work that you do and all these kind of different ideas and thoughts and experiences?
I think being here in Hawaii helps because people come here to this island as the healing island. So there's already that, they know that they're going to come across healers or people that heal, but they're seeking something. And sometimes they don't know why they're seeking it. And then, like say if I have my booth at one of the events I do, people, they come up and they first have a question. Well, okay, what does acupuncture do? Like everybody, how are you going to help me? The basics, but they're seeking more than that. It's, they actually want to heal. They want, information for them. They want to tap into that, but they don't know quite how or why, and then pretty soon they're sitting in my chair. So for them, there's a little part of them that's open just because they've in essence arrived here. You don't come here unless you're seeking something like that, even if you're conscious of it or not. Yeah.
And then you get the opportunity to kind of sit back and just guide them through that space.
Right. So, and you guide them into that space. You can guide them with a little bit more by asking questions or finding out a little bit more about them or plant a little seed. I give everybody homework.
Yeah. I like to think that I do that with the podcast. That people will listen, and my hope is that one little piece of whatever it is that we discuss during the episode sticks with them, and they think about it for days after and days after, and have that kind of moment where something clicks. They're like, "Oh, I remember listening. I heard that on the podcast or something like that," and then it makes sense for them, and they get the opportunity to go out and learn and explore and seek more.
Right. We're all seekers. We all should be seeking things and going and finding out for ourselves, Don't take somebody else's word for it, figure it out for yourself. Go research it, go look into it, go feel it, go travel there, go do it, and find out what it really means for you. Because what it means for the next person isn't going to be what it means for you.
Yeah.
And these are all transitional points.
So tell me, because you mentioned that a lot of people come to the island seeking, whether they know it consciously or unconsciously. Do you feel like you were doing the same thing when you guys first came here?
Right. But I set the intention to purposely come here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't know exactly what I was seeking. Same thing. You're seeking something. And at that point, I was not an acupuncturist yet. but I knew that there was some sort of path. I just didn't know how to get there, but I just knew that I had to be here. And so then I set the stage to figure out what that was. I mean, and everything that I did in my daily life, I mean, whether it was like feng shuiing my place, and mind you, we moved like 7 times. So that was redoing it again and again. Setting the intention, affirmations, I mean, anything and everything. I was just like, please just show me. And then before you knew it, like the answers just started flowing in.
That whole idea.
Like, oh, thank God.
Well, that whole idea, that thing where we think, like, please just show me. Like, I'm doing everything that I can to align. I'm doing everything to stay centered and quiet and mindful and paying attention, universe. Like, hurry the fuck up and show me what the process is.
You do get to the point.
Yeah. And then if we just sat back and realized that, because I believe that like at every point, even in the shittiest of shitty times, the most depressed, where everything's a clusterfuck and nothing's working out, I think that too is just simply the universe going, here you go, here you go, here you go, continually showing us exactly where we're supposed to be, doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, if you look at the bigger picture and you can really, you know, tune in to be like, oh, this is why you showed me this. I get it. You know, I've had horrible experiences and then later going, oh, I recognize this completely. And so it kind of just diminishes what you're going through at that point where it doesn't even affect you the same way.
So how do you do that on a daily basis? Like, how do you kind of stay in that mindset or
You have to look for the little things. So a lot of times you're expecting the big thing, you want the big thing, but you can't quite get there. So it might be the most subtlest little things ever. You know, the time on your clock, 11:11.
Yeah. Give me some more examples of the stuff that pops up for you. Or that you pay attention for, I should say.
It could be things that my children say, you know, that bring me back into it, where I'm like, oh, thank you, I needed that, you know, that they don't even realize, you know, conversations that I have, you know, a thought process that I was thinking about, and someone walks in and they answer, you know, just through what they say. I don't know. There's multiple things, you know.
What's the coolest experience you've ever had in that space? So not in the space of paying attention for those little reminders, but that in the zone, in that space where you feel like you're connected and the energy of the universe is flowing through you, and you're kind of fulfilling your destiny as a healer on this fucking planet and doing everything that you're supposed to be doing when everything feels right. What's one of the coolest experiences that you've ever had in that space?
Well, I would have to say one of the most recent ones, I don't know if it's the coolest, but is when we found the place where we're at right now, you know, as far as our float business and where we're living. So just that point of pulling into the wrong driveway for an address you're looking, but this perfect place that's beautiful is right next to you, and the kids are in the back seat. We love it. We love it. And we're just like, well, okay, let's look at it, you know, and realizing, well, this isn't what we were looking for. This wasn't the address. This isn't the place where thought we were supposed to go to, you know, but all of us are just like vibrating at this, like, wait a minute, but what is this place? Why haven't we seen this? You know, and you realize that you're in this zone where everything perfectly lined up. You know, you make a wrong turn, which is the right turn. And so you're not mad, but you're just going, what? How did this happen? Well, we're here because this is what we've asked for, you know, and then just taking the next steps to make that transpire even further.
Yeah.
But as a family, we were all just like totally celebrating, like, oh, this is perfect. We want it. It's beautiful, as we're peeking through the windows, trying to figure out a way to get in because we really wanted to see it.
Yeah. It's a neat place. I think it's going to work out well for you guys.
And then you leave and you're like, wow, how do we find out about this place? So the rest of the, you know, the day, the week, you know, everything that followed was kind of like the goal, you know. It just became, you couldn't think of anything else. So you know that's big if it doesn't leave, you know. And you're just like, you have to figure it out. It becomes a puzzle. Yeah. And a waiting game.
Tell me your, well, I know your kids' names, but I want everybody else to hear them if you're cool with that, because they're badass kick-ass kids' names.
So Alaska, she's 7, and then Kaleo, who is 4.
You got to give them their middle names.
Oh, too, Alaska Raven and Kaleo Lynx.
What have you learned from being a parent?
What have I learned? That I don't know shit.
It's a good reminder of that, right?
Yeah, you really don't know anything. And I've learned that my kids are my teachers, that they're here to bring me information and to stay open to that. So if you can't get lost in the moment of the temper tantrums, if you could stay present. But yeah, that they're showing you and they're guiding you and they're teaching you. So I've learned that I have to listen to what they're saying, that they really know what's going on.
And then this is kind of not a shitty question, but kind of a challenging question for you. And maybe you haven't yet, but what's the biggest way that you feel like you have failed as a parent up to this point?
Oh, I say when I get angry.
Yeah.
When that really takes over. So I say that's the worst. I feel like shit, that I was brought to that point of we can't work through whatever is going on, and there's like emotions and fire and everything's being thrown around. So it's, the whole term of butting heads pretty much, but being taken to those emotions. And at the same time, I've learned that I need to show my kids that I'm not just, this happy-go-lucky person all the time, that they really need to see the range of emotions because that's what we are. We have all these emotions, but they need to be expressed. So part of me hates it, but the other part of me is like, no, I have to release it. I have to, be able to work through it just like I want them to work through it.
I agree. That's what I was going to say is it's like, yeah, it sucks as a parent because you feel like shit that, your kids had to kind of go through whatever that was. But it's totally okay to not just feel, but express anger and rage and sadness.
Yeah. So if I'm pissed and I leave the room and I'm slamming the door and saying, don't bother me, I've learned that my kids now do the same. So I don't have to send them to timeout. They go. and I'm like, wow, that works.
That hard part, though, of giving them that space.
Yeah. So it's become, they've really taught me that you don't need to discipline them, discipline yourself, and then they'll follow. So, yeah, give yourself the time out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we need it, not necessarily
probably
that they do.
More often than not.
So, yeah, go in the room, shut the door, scream in your pillow, whatever you need to do, to let out your own aggressions and then come out a happy parent. And, tell them that, I need 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes.
And 2 more hours.
Yeah, 2 more hours.
So tell me, what is your, like if you had to sum up some way of expressing and explaining your belief in regards to all of these different things, what would it be? When it comes to the universe and energy and all the cosmic shit that exists out there.
How do you sum up something so big?
Yeah, we're going to bring it down then small. Because think about it this way. I think that when you meet somebody because if you meet somebody that doesn't believe and isn't really open to believing yet, they're still connected. They're still on their path, however we want to label it and call it. But then you meet that one person who is, but yet just has a bunch of questions, but not really any answers yet. And granted, we're just planting seeds and we're hoping to give them a little bit of direction where they can go and find more. But we have to take all of this vast amount of knowledge, insight, belief that we have, and everybody's different and everybody believes slightly differently. But how do we condense it down into fucking words? Because I think our words are
Don't have beliefs.
Don't have beliefs. I'm going to challenge it. Tell me why. Because I believe that I have beliefs.
Right. But the beliefs are constantly changing, right? With how you grow and what you know and what you find out. So you can't hold on to those beliefs. They may work in the moment for where you are, which is great.
Yeah.
But if your belief is challenged, or something new comes through, well, then that's a moment to change and shift. And so in essence, you can't hold on to the belief.
You just have to allow for it to evolve, right?
It's about the evolution process. We want to evolve as beings,
So what's one of your beliefs that has evolved? Like, tell me one that was difficult for you to allow for that process to take place. You got to have something, Daisy. Like, life's shitty hard, right?
Yeah, I probably do. I just can't think of one in the moment.
I'll tell you one of mine, and then you can give me your thoughts on it, and it might spark something. Because this is something that I believe that we have, well, not everybody, but for me, I have ideas and then I have beliefs.
Right.
And if I stay with an idea long enough, eventually it kind of evolves and solidifies into a belief. And then sometimes my beliefs kind of de-evolve back down into ideas, and I have to gather more information and ideas and thoughts in order to create a belief.
Right.
And my beliefs are kind of set up in this space that give me structure. They give me kind of peace at times, even though I'm totally fine with throwing them all out the fucking window if something else presents itself. But one of my beliefs is that there is no good or evil. There is no dark or light. The reality is, for me, there's no yin, there's no yang. None of that really exists. At the end of the day, it's all the exact same. It's all just simply energy.
Right.
And it's only our...
Now, that's actually a really good one, because that's something I've been thinking about lately. So yeah, the yin and the yang, the good and the bad and the light and the dark, you know, because that's kind of like the fundamentals of Chinese medicine, right? You know, the different parts of the spectrum, but yet the different parts of the spectrum wrap around into each other. So you can't have one without the other. I mean, that's why if you look at the yin yang, it's, you know, the white within the dark and the dark within the light, right?
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
So, because it's all connected, we're all together. But yeah, that's a very challenging one, you know, because we're brought up that there is good and evil, that there's like the God and devil and dark and light, and that people are either all or nothing, but it's not all or nothing, you know, we're all something, you know.
Yeah.
But what is that something, you know, or what is the nothing?
Yeah. I tell people that, like, I kind of explain that to people, and they're like, well, how do you explain like really evil shit? Like just recently, the horrible shooting in Vegas, right? Like, how do you explain that? And I'm like, I don't have a good explanation.
There is no
that.
explanation. They're just transitional points, you know, basically whatever your belief is, you know, that things need to happen for other people to awaken or to see or to transition within themselves. You can't change the big shit if you don't change yourself. So it's about changing those things within yourself. And what do you ultimately want to be? What energy do you want to be? What do you want to hold? What do you want to portray?
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, yes, everything's energy. So how are you going to shift or change that, you know?
So it kind of makes sense, in like when you think about it, that there isn't any good or evil or light or dark or shadow side, or it's all just the same.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's all the same, you know, and everybody has a little piece of something. You know, if you're all evil, you still have that little piece of light within it, you know. I guess if you're all good, you have a little piece of dark within you, you know. Yeah.
Have you seen recently, like, I don't know how active you are online or social media or anything like that, and I'm probably I kill way too much time doing shit like that. But Jim Carrey recently had an interview where...
I did see it.
Did you see that? Those little clips and videos of it?
Yeah.
Where people...
We're all tetrahedrons.
Yeah.
That one.
Like, he's totally going off the deep end into the space of like, we don't exist. This isn't happening.
He's saying exactly what is the truth, right? There's ultimate truths that resonate with people. And that's why we attach to that and we want to watch it, because there's some part of ultimate truth. But how do you get to that truth? How do you find out more?
Yeah.
And then those who reject it, I mean, you reject it because, you know, there's a fear attached to it as well, you know, that you don't want to know. You don't want to step into that.
Do you kind of, like, after listening to that and kind of hearing his perspective, you just laughed? But does some of it kind of resonate with you, like on a really deep level? Do you believe?
Oh, totally. I mean, he's just saying we're all energy, we're all connected, you know, and we can change our shape or our energy or, you know, in the moment. But, you know, it's back to the basic fundamentals. So
I think often that we are way less significant in the grand scheme of things than we really believe we are. Like, I like to think that I'm an important, beautiful, starseed, light shining, connected person, and the universe revolves around me. And I think that everybody's like that. And I think the universe in one way, shape, or form revolves around each individual person. But yet we're all connected and everything like that. But then at the same time, I really think that the universe could give a flying fuck about what's going on in my life or what I'm experiencing. And the fact is, I'm simply just a part of it.
Right.
Where it doesn't matter if I'm in this moment, in this body, in this existence. I'm just simply a cog in this massive machine that is going to function one way or the other. Because if I'm not this cog, then I will have evolved into some other aspect of the machine that is continuing to just perpetually move itself forward.
Right, I suppose. But I believe we are important in essence. But it's more like finding out why you're here, dealing with your own shit, whether you brought it in or you're collecting it as you're here, So there's lessons to be learned. I don't know why we're here, but there's journeys that we have to go through, and experiences. And if you look at those experiences, they keep showing up the same and same if you don't address it, right?
So why do you think we are here? Like when you let your brain go and think about what are thoughts as far as why the hell we're here?
I think we're here just as one big journey on some other bigger journey. If you think that we're like soul beings, if you connect to that as far as source, and that we come here to Earth to experience what it's like to be a human per se, a soul within this body, and to go through these different changes and different shifts. So, and then through that process, whether you recognize it or not. So there's a lot of remembering, remembering like who you were before or why you came here or what your purpose is. Because if you actually connect with that and start on that path of the remembering, and then at some point you get it, you're like, oh, I fucking get it. Thank you. If you actually seek to ask that out, then everything else will resonate in your life. Things will shift and change, and they'll keep placing you on that path again and again and again.
So do you believe in like past life and experiences that we keep repeating over and over again?
Right. So I don't know about past life. I mean, who knows? Maybe we've had many lives, maybe one, maybe we want to come back a ton of times. Maybe we don't, maybe we're new souls or maybe we're old, but regardless, we're all in this journey together. We're all connected. We affect each other. We affect ourselves, so if you want to, be vibrant and alive and participate, that's one aspect. I mean, or you can just, sit on the couch and zone out and, watch a lot of movies and TVs and disconnect from the world. So
I, like, it's, this is my thought. Okay. I'll just keep telling you what the hell I think, and then you can tell me what you think.
Okay.
But, cause that description of like the person that's incredibly, like vibrant and wants to tap in and connect and in a sense kind of benefit the cosmic spin of everything, as opposed to that person that wants to disconnect and just kind of be, withdrawn and within their own space. And I think about those two dichotomies, like that, two separate types of vibrations and energy. And one of the things that I think, this isn't quite a belief yet, this is still just one of my thoughts, that the whole purpose of the existence of us here on this planet is simply just to perpetuate the spin. So if we think about the way that the universe and the planets and the cosmos and energy and vibration, it all moves and vibrates and is just perpetually spinning forward.
It's all energy, just moving.
And so we created this planet and we created these experiences and we created these bodies and we created life simply as a way to create more energy. Because when we're here in these physical forms as people, with our heart and our emotion and our spirituality and all these different things that kind of feed, it all creates energy.
Right.
So if you think about the way emotion works, it, like, you have experienced love before.
Right.
And love has this massive amount of energy that comes along with it.
It's limitless. So you're either tapping in and creating energy through love, or you're zapping it and taking it through fear.
See, I beg to differ. I think that when we're afraid, or that when we're sad, or that when we're depressed, or when we're heartbroken, that too is simply creating a massive amount of energy. And it's all just simply, so that's why I got away from good or bad, or dark or light, that it's all just energy. So whether we're in love, or whether we see our child for the first time when they're born, or maybe we see our child die, or our loved one die, both of those are putting out a high level of energy. And emotion gets that spectrum from those two extremes, but it's all energy at the end of the day. And that energy just goes back
just
to
different
source.
types of energy, maybe a different vibration.
Yeah.
So you're sending out a different vibration of that energy.
But all
right?
just feeding the spin.
Feeding within the spin, but I believe there's multiple layers to that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Which vibrational spectrum are you on?
Yeah.
Right? You're tapping into that at the moment. You know, the whole misery loves company, because that's a significant vibration that's being felt, you know. But if you're in this moment of love and everything in life is bliss, you're not going to want to be around miserable people. It's a different vibration. But yes, it's all energy.
Yeah, and we're just feeding it.
Mm-hmm.
Like just perpetually
Are we feeding it?
I don't know.
Are we being fed by it?
Well, if we're being fed by it, then we're being fed by ourselves, because we are it. We're a part of all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
and then where's the energy going? If we're just creating it, where is it going?
We'll think about how limitless and vast the universe is.
Right.
So there's plenty of space for it to go.
Right.
It's not ever going to get to a spot and then kind of
But it has to be used as well, doesn't it? Or no?
It does, I think. It has to be used. But in the process of the spin and the expansiveness and the growth, it's like this, just as limitless as the universe is, it needs a limitless amount of energy. And so it's never going to run out, because it's always perpetually making more. It's just that beautiful.
It's endless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when I start thinking about all of that shit, I get super like brain cramped and overwhelmed, and come like way back down into like, well, I'll just focus on like my body and being present in the moment, and kind of what can I do to just continually feel better? Because I have no idea. I could be like, we could totally be in the Matrix. God could totally be a thing. I could be going
so
to
many
hell when I
possibilities.
die.
Yep. Well, yeah. So it comes down to like, who do you want to be? What is your life purpose, or what do you want that to be? And then to be that person, you know, regardless, we still have to experience this life, you know, whether it's the Matrix or alternate universe or whatever it is, you know, we're here now in this moment. So whatever that moment is, what do you want to be in that moment? So,
yeah. Do you ever feel like have you ever felt like you've tapped in and experienced some other part of your energy, or some other dimension or universe, or some other place that you exist at the same current time?
Yeah, there's been several different instances where I question.
Well, tell me about one.
Am I in a new place, or whether drug induced or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, different things, you know. I mean, you can look at things like the mandala effect, you know, where things are changing constantly, you know. But that was something I noticed before, and I'm like, oh, there's actually a term for that.
What's the term?
The Mandela effect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. So tell me, like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm familiar with mandalas, but like, what is the effect?
The Mandela effect is where things are changing. The wording is changing. The symbols are changing around us, as far as like what we're shown with the products or media or life or people or situations. Yeah, it's named after a person, because.
Oh, so it's not mandala.
Not mandala like the mandalas that you can design and color and draw.
Mandela. It's not Nelson Mandela, is it?
Nelson Mandela, yeah.
Is it named after him?
Yeah. Because people believe that he died in 1 year, and then years later he died again. And so this brought up a conscious awareness of, wait, what the hell is happening? The media told us one thing, and now they're telling us another thing. Years later, I remember this, but now you're telling me now. And so people started looking into multiple different things.
That kind of sounds like a conspiracy theory.
It's all conspiracy theory. We live in a conspiracy theory.
His life is a conspiracy theory.
You can call anything a conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely could.
You know, but, you know, look into those theories, you know. Again, it's like, you don't have to believe it or not believe it, but I believe it's there. I believe it's there to test your limits, you know. What is it that you ultimately believe or want to believe?
Yeah.
You know, what have you felt yourself or witnessed yourself? You know.
See, I believe that we all create what our existence is, and not just in the literal sense, but for example, like let's take conspiracy theories, for example. So there's some people that think we didn't land on the moon. And that whole entire thing back in the 60s was a conspiracy theory, and it was faked, and it was all in regards to, the issues we were having with Russia at the time and all that kind of bullshit.
Right.
And I think that if you're one of those people that doesn't believe that happened, then it totally didn't happen. But it's only it's only in the expanse of your universe, in your thought process. And then somebody else could believe that it totally did happen, and it's the same thing. And both of them are right.
Yeah.
Because...
So are we living on two Earths at the same time then? Right?
Like 700 million Earths at the same time. And they're all just spinning in conjunction with one another.
Yeah. So we can all just basically have our own beliefs and, don't challenge somebody else's, but challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
But I agree. But at the same time, we kind of have to challenge each other. Like, I think that's part of the growth process, and because I want people to challenge me, right? Like, I think about my relationships and the people that I have in my life, and I don't want everybody just to go along and agree with everything that I say. And if I present this crazy idea of, hey, we didn't land on the moon, or maybe the Earth is flat, or
gives you something to look into. Yeah. Let me look into this. Let me see. Okay, how far deep do I want to go into this one? Because you can get pretty deep into all of those things, Yeah,
there's totally...
And there's tons of good information, out there. And depending on what you want to see, But everything's about what you're seeing in the moment, as it pertains to you.
Do you have one that what's a crazy one in your universe that you kind of believe in?
A crazy one. Well, the most recent one is probably flat Earth. That's a pretty crazy one right now.
That is a pretty crazy one.
It's more like I like to see what's presented and what people come up with and go, this is very interesting. Let's see what they find out,
Let's see what they create.
Right. Let's see what you're creating and what's going on. And not that I believe in it or not, but I like the challenge of it, more or less.
It's very challenging.
Yeah.
It's fun to kind of watch too when people fall on one side or the other, because they get so challenged by it, and they have to stand up so strongly and say, no, look. And then you have the other people that are like, dude, I'm pretty sure it's obvious that we're just on a planet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that's your belief. Yeah.
Do you have where do you fall on the spectrum?
I fall into that my beliefs have been, I've had to break them down again and reevaluate my perspectives. So, I like that it gives me a new way to look at the world or look at Earth, that I didn't previously think about. So then when I go out, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to look at it as though it is flat Earth today. What do I see? What am I going to experience? In the end, it doesn't matter whether it's a globe or flat or somewhere in between. But, you get to shift your perspective a little bit. You get to look like here, I get to watch the sunset a little bit differently, envision things a little bit differently, go up to the stars and see things differently. So,
I think it's funny too, because that one's not any crazier than, everybody has something that they hold strong to and believe. And depending upon your perspective and your outlook, that shit's batshit crazy. And because I'm sitting here thinking about, I don't believe that the Earth is flat. I believe that we are on a spinning globe of shit that's spinning and rotating through the cosmos. But yet I believe in fairies. And
fairies exist.
Right?
Many hoonies here in Hawaii.
And there's plenty of people that are going to look at that belief and be like, okay, that's wonderful that in your little world that you've created, you think fairies are a thing.
It comes down to what is your experience with fairies. If you haven't experienced fairies, then they're not going to exist for you. They're not going to present themselves because you hold a belief that they don't exist.
Yeah.
But if you believe in them, and you can call them fairies, you can call them, like here in Hawaii, mini hoonies.
Yeah, what are those? Tell me what that is.
Small little, I guess they're smaller, they're bigger than fairies. Within the spectrum of things that you can't see, but you sense or know that they're there, you give it a name. But it's small beings, in essence, maybe about a little more than knee high or something,
It's a little elves.
They fuck with you. Elves, trolls, fairies, but you can call them out on it. And if you start giving that awareness to them and calling them out, you know, if they've like taken your keys or, you know, they'll bring them back.
See, what do you think that is? Because I think about that, and I always like to challenge stuff because I totally believe it. And then at the same time, I'm like, what is it about us? Because sometimes I just like to think about us in the most basic form of like, we're just an animal. We just evolved from goo. Like everything that we have right now is simply based off of evolution and the need to survive.
That's a belief.
It is a belief. But
Goo
sometimes
and evolution.
So what part of like our animal nature or our evolution or the way that our brain has evolved has created this need for us to explain?
Have we created the need, or is it in the spectrum of what we can't explain? You know, it goes back to these other different, you know, energetic spectrums, you know, things that we can't sense, you know. So dimensions or, you know, whatever name you want to call it, you know, because people have different words or different terms that they use. So these things, fairies and mini hoonies, they're all in this different spectrum of, you know, those things you can't quite put your finger on, but you know that you experience these different things. There's no explanation for it.
So I agree. But what is it in our evolution? Like if we just look at ourselves as purely animals and there's some part of our brain that has evolved. And during that evolutionary process, we had to come up with some way of explaining the unexplainable. And so we've given it all these different little compartments and all these little boxes and spaces that can make it work so that we can be at peace with the unexplainable, all the different aspects of existence that we can't explain away. So then it just allows more safety and allows us to continue to evolve. If that's just the base form of what we're really here as and what we're doing, we came from the earth and the earth alone, and we're going to go back to the earth and the earth alone. Because that's very much a possibility.
Right.
Like we just stemmed from single-celled organisms at some point and got to this point after millions and millions of years. And eventually we're going to go back to the earth.
Right. Yeah, but is it our bodies that go back to the earth? You know, what about our spirits or our souls, if you believe in that, right? So, I mean, yes, in essence, your body goes back, that physical form, you know, but what about this spirit that exists in there, you know?
But what if that spirit, that soul, that thing that we can't explain, but yet we can feel is just part of our evolution, giving it context? So then we can be at peace with it and continue on. Because if you think about all the way back to at some point we started walking upright and started looking at the world around us in a different way.
Right.
And there was a part of us that sensed and could feel something, but we couldn't label it. We couldn't understand it. It didn't have form or shape.
Well, we love labels, don't we?
Yeah. Like we have to say that's tree, that's rock, that's fire, that's stick, that's tiger, whatever. And there was another part that we could feel, but yet we couldn't see. So we just like, well, that's fucking spirit.
Right.
And then we were at peace with it and we could move on, as opposed to like sitting and being stuck as a caveman, being like, what the fuck is this overwhelming thing that I can feel that I can't explain? So maybe we just compartmentalized it and labeled it, which then continued to allow us to grow and move on and evolve. I don't know.
That's a lot.
It's
that
a
goes back
possibility.
to like a couple different beliefs. Are you believing in the evolutionary process coming from goo, or are you believing that we've always been here and that we're energy beings in human form that have always existed, you know?
I don't believe that one. I don't believe in time either.
Yeah, time is a funny thing, you know. I find that there's time shifts even here on the island, you know. I can wake up and things can happen. I'm like, oh, I'm in that time zone. All right. You know, it's slow today, like extra slow. Or things will happen really fast. And some days feel like 3 days. So,
do you feel like, because there's this belief, because we're just talking about fucking crazy beliefs and shit, right? Because I'm not confused yet. I don't know if you are. I'm sure the people who are listening are super fucking confused. Are they on beliefs or thoughts now? I can't keep track. But there's this belief that the island or the islands here are a energy point for the planet, because the planet's got meridians and all those kind of different things.
All the vortexes and they have their own meridians, right?
Yeah.
Goes back to energy.
And so do you feel like the islands are an integral part in that? And they...
Oh, of course. You know, why else would people be drawn to come here? You know, whether it's momentarily to clear out things or, you know, for a long period of time. So I believe that it exists and you feel it and you sense it and you either want to know more about it or you get enough and then you leave. Yeah.
Do you think there's portals here?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've heard of like many different things here, you know, everything from the mermaids to areas where the UFOs come and land. And so why wouldn't there be portals?
Yeah. Have you ever seen any like UFOs here?
No.
No?
I have friends who have seen strange things, you know, but again, it's like you don't really have a word for it, but you know it's not normal or whatever normal is.
Yeah.
What we've been told normal is.
We see some crazy shit in the sky where we live.
Mm-hmm.
Like luckily we live in a kind of rural area, so we can go out in our backyard and at night and the sky gets real clear and it's beautiful. But one of our favorite things and we haven't done it in a long time, partially because it's starting to get cold back in Utah, but we'll sit outside and then you can watch some stars and they flash and they change colors and they do all sorts of different really neat things. And it's fun to watch them like through a telescope or through binoculars, and you can see like different colored orbs. And granted, you're kind of seeing it in that fuzzy, hazy thing, but like it's very clearly, you can tell that thing is flashing red or flashing blue or orange or whatever the case may be. And then like scientists could obviously explain it in a certain way and tell us that it's the refraction of light on
They love to
ozone.
explain things, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm just like, oh, that's way fucking cool. Like the
It's
energy
so cool.
orbs up there.
Right.
And we get to sit back and watch them.
Right. We recently went up to Mauna Kea, which is phenomenal. I wanted to go there for my birthday. So we went to go see the stars and see the sunset up there because...
And tell people what that is.
Mauna Kea is a mountain here. Basically the tallest mountain, I guess, if you take it from its height to the bottom below the ocean or something like that. It's like over 13,000 feet. But you have to go up. You have to stay at a transition point so you can adjust your breathing for 30 minutes and then you can continue on up. But once you get up there, it's pretty icy cold for being in Hawaii.
Yeah, we were laughing about that yesterday.
Yeah, but you get to watch.
This was my favorite. Mike's like, it's as cold as I've ever been in my whole life. I'm like, how cold is that? Like 30 degrees. Well, okay. Well,
it's pretty ice chilling pretty quickly when you come from like super warm.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure.
And then the winds kick in. It's you're okay until the sun sets. And I say sunset because it's not actually set yet. It's just set from your view up there because you're above the clouds. So you see this ocean of clouds in essence. It looks like the ocean, but it's all more fluffy and white.
That's awesome.
And so the sun sets below this. And once the sun goes below that, these icy chills come through and you want to jump in your car and turn on the heater. But you just kind of wait until the stars start coming out, and we did that. And then we drove back down to the transitional point to see the stars because it takes a while for the sky to darken up. And you get to a point where your breathing is a little bit affected, so you're like, okay, we're going to go. And then to see the stars there and look through the telescopes was pretty amazing. But what's amazing is you're looking at the stars and, you know, everything's like wavy and changing. And so I think we got to see Saturn as well. The moon, Saturn, and then a few of the stars. But
did you see like the Milky Way too? Like how it...
Oh, full on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. And it feels so close, you know. But I mean, it's just millions and millions and millions of stars. The sky is just full. So.
Yeah. See, it's times like those where it's like, I don't know how you can hold on to some belief that we are alone.
Right.
Like there's
so many things. We're not alone, you know? I mean, there's other animals on this planet. There's if you want to look at energies or entities or fairies, you know, I mean, the feeling of so many other things within this universe that we can't explain. We can't put a word on it or a label, you know, because it's not meant to be labeled.
Yeah.
You know, it just comes down to sensation. What is your feeling, that ultimate sensation, you know?
I think that's the biggest thing. Like when I talk to people, or that even people like my family, I've got, plenty of family members and stuff like that have a hard time connecting with some of these ideas and some of these thoughts and beliefs and things like that. And I'm like, it all comes back to a feeling. And if you're not really connected with your feelings, and if you kind of suck at feeling, then you're probably not going to feel these things.
Well, people do so many things to block feelings. They don't want to feel, they want to feel a certain set. And if it's not within that set, they're doing something to maintain keeping it away, instead of letting it come through and experience it.
Yeah.
I mean, because, sometimes feelings suck, Then you're like, I really don't want to feel this, but dang it, I got to go through it because I know on the other side it's going to be pure bliss.
Yeah.
So, but I see a lot of that within people that come, to my booth and different patients I have. So there's a lot of emotional releases and feelings and different things that are shifted and changed, That's another thing. People are coming here to tap into that, but they don't quite know why. They know they need to release something or change something or shift it.
It's all about feeling.
Yeah.
Well, beautiful, Daisy.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap up because we got to go finish your guys' fucking tank so that you guys can flow. And, but give everybody, first off, people that come to Kona, people that come here and visit, not only will they be able to come and float at your guys' place, but then they can come work with you as well. So what's the best way for people to find you, contact you, reach out, anything like that?
Well, the easiest is probably just online, Hawaii Float and Kona Acupuncture Studio. So those are the easiest ways. All the information is on there, on those websites.
Cool.
Yeah. Unless you come during an event where I have a booth, signs are up. I mean, I'm there. And
you do those pretty regularly, right?
There's one I do once a month. I've been doing it over 3 years now. So I have regulars that come back, oh, good, you were here. I was here last year. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. I've made it to this point,
Yeah.
These are just travelers that come through. So very cool. People from all over the world. I figure I'm leaving seeds and they're going out all over.
And then hopefully they come back and you can see what's blossomed them and grown. And
it's amazing the feedback I get, especially when you hear things like, you fixed my knee. I'm like, I did? They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, who else did you see? Nobody. I didn't need to. And at that point, you're like, this is very interesting. It was a quick acupuncture treatment under a tent at this event where people are walking by. I mean, you create a space of bliss, though, and healing, and it doesn't matter where it happens, but you can allow it to happen.
Yeah, good stuff always does happen. Well, thank you so much, Daisy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun.
Everybody go out and have because what do people say in Hawaii? Bye, good, whatever. What are common things that's how we'll end. Because usually I say, everybody go out and have a beautiful day. But what would be the equivalent of that here in Hawaii?
Well, you can always use the term aloha, which is to say hello and goodbye. That's the ultimate feeling of love, right?
Yeah, I like
aloha. It's limitless. So you're either tapping in and creating energy through love, or you're zapping it and taking it through fear. What have I learned that I don't know? Shit. We're all seekers. We all should be seeking things and going and finding out for ourselves. Everything starts at an emotional level, the energetic level, and it starts to work its way in. So a lot of times you're expecting the big thing, you want the big thing, but you can't quite get there. So it might be the most subtlest little things ever.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. If you haven't yet, we always challenge our listeners and the people that I talk to, go share the podcast with somebody so then they get to listen and enjoy and benefit from all the wonderful guests that we have come on. And remember to go check out entheozen.com, nutritional solutions for balancing the mind and body. Whether you're going to purchase online at their website or through Amazon, be sure to enter that promo code ENERGYIS and save yourself some cash. Go do it right now.